Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. We're going to be going over a bunch of headlines of what's been happening in the last day or so. We're going to be covering what's over on the poplarreport.com. So you're going to be able to see all of that. We're going to walk you through what's been up there. There's already new news stories up there, so you want to check that out whenever you get a chance. Once again, thepoplarreport.com. And let's jump into these stories. All right, so the first lead story that we have here is that we have reports now that there is a Ukrainian national that has 17 audio recordings of the Bidens, basically, who were asking for bribes, $5 million, and with quid pro quo. You know, if you pay this much, this is what you're going to get. You do this, I'll do this, and those linked together. Apparently, the FBI has been covering this up. That is very, very concerning. That the FBI had this evidence in their hands, and they refused to do anything about it. That's kind of where we are as a country. Is that certain agencies, certain departments of the U.S. government are actively undermining justice in our country, who are weaponizing their agencies in order to attack certain people, certain parties, certain groups of people, and that is really, really concerning. So these audio recordings haven't leaked out yet, but apparently they do exist, and the FBI is aware of them. Before we go any further, let's thank our sponsor here, Genesis Gold Group. They do a fantastic job helping people move out of stocks and bonds IRAs over to gold and silver and platinum IRAs. Once again, if you have the cash in hand, I do recommend purchasing materials and shipping them directly to your home. You can do that through Genesis Gold Group, or you can do that through wherever. But if you're going to move IRA funds or 401k funds over to you have to have a depository bank that can accept that. You have to purchase specific kinds of coins and everything like that, and get them in a certain type of account, all that stuff. Jonathan and his team at Genesis Gold Group can talk you through all that. The number's up on the screen, but you can also find them down in the description down below. So the long-awaited spring offensive in Ukraine has started, and apparently they are making territorial gains. We're hearing that they did capture at least three villages, and that they are moving forward. We're hearing not so much from the Ukrainian side right now. They're kind of like, yeah, there's fighting going on, and they have announced and released pictures of villages that they've retaken, but they haven't been talking about casualties. They haven't been talking about a lot of that kind of stuff. They've been keeping that pretty mum. But we're hearing from the other side, Bear Country over there is talking its mouth off about how there is heavy casualties on the Ukrainian side. But we can't verify any of that at this point. But it does seem to be that is moving forward. So also there's a little banner up there about Trump surrendering himself in Miami, and lots of protesters out there in force. So be aware that some of that may happen before this video goes even live about what's going on with that. But so Iraq apparently owes Iran a whole bunch of money, $2.76 billion. You know, let's not round it, right? Let's keep the $60 million on there, not round it off. But apparently they owed this money to Iran, and they've been holding it back under orders from the United States, apparently. Now, the United States has entered into clandestine talks with Iran. Sorry, I forgot where. It might be in Qatar or some other Middle Eastern oil state, UAE or something like that. But they're having talks where the United States is talking with Iran and negotiating about nuclear weapons and such. And so suddenly out comes the news that Iraq is going to send this $2.76 billion to Iran, which sounds an awful lot like the planefuls of cash that went to Iran last time that Obama was in negotiations with Iran. And it's just like just another one. Lots and lots of cash. Now, we're told that it's all about what's happening over in Eastern Europe here. But I mean, aren't the Iranians making drones for the Bear Country? Like, they're literally making drones and giving them to Bear Country to use them on U.S. equipment and U.S. mercenaries that are working there, and whoever else is in there. Obviously, special forces from multiple NATO countries are there in person. We know that for a fact. And so, but of course, what are they going to do with $2.7 billion? Are they going to use that to build up the drone manufacturing plant outside Moscow? Because that's word on the street of what they're doing is they're going to help Bear Country build even more drones. And so, yeah, why wouldn't we give them a whole bunch of money, right? Nothing in this world makes sense anymore. And then the United States, as well as other European countries, decided to host Air Defender, the largest ever aerial war games. And it's going to be happened right on the border with Bear Country. Not a threat there at all. Turkish F-16s, Japan, Sweden, because why wouldn't Japanese fighter jets be involved in Europe right up against the border of Bear Country? Why wouldn't they be? I mean, why if China and Russia and Iran and Cuba decide to have joint air defense drills in Mexico, would we be concerned about that? Or if Canada decided to host them, would the United States be a little concerned about that? Obviously, we would be. And that's kind of the situation here where this is happening. 10,000 servicemen right on the border. Speaking of, we keep running into these ad blockers or whatever. So basically what's happening there is Cuba is hosting a Chinese, there it is. So China has a spy base down in Cuba now. And that's definitely concerning. The forging of an alliance between China and Cuba, just like the Soviet Union had with Cuba, while the Cubans are under embargo from the United States. You're still not allowed to, you can't fly from the United States to Cuba. You have to fly United States to some other country and get on a different carrier to get over to Cuba, because we still have sanctions on the country because the Castro regime is still in power. And we got a lot to be concerned about that too. Speaking of what China is doing around the world, China is just going around just gobbling everything up. They've just inked $10 billion in investment deals with Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is in talks with China right now. They've already agreed to sell oil to China in their currency and not in dollars. That's big news out there. And then on top of that, we're seeing China is weaseling in to this exclusive relationship that the United States has with Saudi Arabia. It was not Chinese forces that came in and defended Saudi Arabia against the Iraqis. It is not China that came in and liberated Kuwait from the Iraqis. It was United States forces and other allied forces. And now Saudi Arabia wants to give all that oil. I mean, we weren't there for the oil, but we were there for the oil, weren't we? We've had continuous fighting in the Congo and a whole bunch of places in Africa, Central Africa Republic, and nobody cares. Why? Because they don't have any oil there. So don't tell me that we're not there for the oil. We were absolutely there for the oil. And now the oil is going to be going to someone else, to the Chinese. And they are moving in major investments. And not only that, but a lot of this is Saudi Arabia taking their money and investing in China. So this big deal here, $5.6 billion is for Saudi Arabian investment in a Chinese electric car maker. So that's kind of our status of our, every time we turn around, it's another one of our allies that we're supposed to be depending on, that we always have to defend them, but turns around, they start stabbing us in the back. That's just where we are every single day. Japan, one of our closest allies. This actually is kind of good news. Japan, they are announcing that they have designed and that they're going to start production of a new long-range anti-ship missile that they can launch from land. So basically, it's kind of a cruise missile, and it's got some nice range on it. And China's not happy about that. This is not a hypersonic weapon. I'd have to go over my notes again to look up what hypersonic is. It's a Mach, I think it's like 7+ or 6+. So it's just based on the speed at which the projectiles go. A cruise missile is much slower and can go a little over Mach 1 in a lot of cases, but it's kind of roughly there. It's more about efficiency and range than it is about super fast speeds. Now the Japanese are working on a hypersonic missile program, but no word on that. Just like the United States doesn't have a functional hypersonic missile, neither does Japan, neither does any NATO country. The only people that have hypersonic missiles are China, Russia, and if you believe the propaganda, Iran. But most people are kind of thinking that the Iranian hypersonic missile is kind of a joke. That's basically just a ballistic missile that they just say it's going hypersonic, and it's not really. Hypersonic glide vehicle on a ballistic missile. Basically, it's just you just have the projectile coming down at a different angle. It's different than having a missile that actually is truly hypersonic. I talked about this the other day, but we do have this beetles infesting the crops, particularly corn crops in the Midwest of the United States. So not the Middle East, Midwest. And this is a big deal. And you can see kind of where that's happening. Get myself off that screen there. So you can see it. Lots of like southern Minnesota, Michigan a little bit, but then Wisconsin, northern Illinois a little bit. But just this area right here is where we're looking at. And there's a lot of corn that gets grown there. The rootworm and the beetles, not the good kind of beetles. And then we drop down to Texas and we can see every site has pop-ups in it, doesn't it? One thing you will never see on the poplarreport.com is pop-ups. We're gonna hold to that. No pop-ups on the site. We're working on building that out a little more, and it can't get down so we can actually see this. We have hundreds of thousands of dead fish, whereas I'm actually thinking it's more in the millions at this point. But so just This is like the Texas coast. They just have just wave of dead fish. Now they're saying that it is due to a low oxygen in the water of that area. So they have a low oxygen event, and it just caused all the fish to die, and they all just started washing ashore. But no other word. They're doing chemical tests to see if there was any chemicals involved. As of now, they don't think there was, but that is concerning. You know, what kind of stuff causes this type of destruction? And so that is in the ocean off the shore of Texas. And this was about a 6-mile strip of beach that was affected like this. So, folks, if you're not already regularly checking out the poplarreport.com, you might want to do that. Not only are you helping support this channel by being more connected, and of course, if I ever get booted off this channel, we're going to be interacting through the website, as well as we're going to be linking to other people's videos here on this channel, on this website, and we got a lot of great things that we're looking forward to doing. Starting to write some original blog post text format, not just video format, articles and stuff like that. So a lot of cool stuff happening with that. So if you want to check that out, thepoplarreport.com. And if you want to check out Genesis Gold Group, because you have got some retirement funds that you want to check, get moved around, you can also talk to Jonathan and his team over at Genesis Gold Group. Thanks so much for watching. There's another video right over here up on the screen. You can click on that, and I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report.